Hey, it's 5.3, step 3. We're still talking about noteworthy information, but this video is all about the how. How do you use your noteworthy information? After you copy and paste from the article, what do you do with it? And so the quick answer is you paraphrase. So let's talk about what paraphrasing is. This is your note-taking document, right? And we talked in step 2 about how to copy and paste URLs with your source. In step 3, we talked about how to find noteworthy information to copy and paste into that second column. Now we're going to be talking about what to do with it afterwards, paraphrasing, how to do that. All right, well, paraphrasing is important. You don't want to be like this guy. You want to paraphrase, not plagiarize. People do get kicked out of college for it. And it's important that we don't plagiarize. What does it mean to plagiarize? What is plagiarism? It's taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as your own. So there are really serious consequences for this. You won't get credit for this assignment if you do it. You could potentially lose a scholarship in college if you were to do this, or a credit for a course, or placement in that college or job. Legal consequences happen as well. So it is very serious. And instead of plagiarizing, we want to paraphrase, which is using your own words to say the same thing when it comes to research. Here are some tips for how to paraphrase for this particular unit. First of all, you want to keep the facts, the things like the numbers and statistics and the names and the key phrases. You want to keep them the same from the second column to the third column. You don't want to change the numbers. You don't want to change the key facts. You don't want to change the names of people or places and some of the key phrases. You'll want to look up words that are unfamiliar and use a more familiar word instead. Use Collins Dictionary, C-O-L-L-I-N-S, and look up what a word means. And instead of using that word you don't know, use a word that is more familiar to you. Make sure you understand the original information. Don't just start trying to paraphrase something that doesn't make sense to you. Look up words that are unclear. Talk to somebody else about what it means. Ask your teacher for help. But you do want to use academic language. You don't want to use slang. So use your own words as long as they are academic English. All right, let's take a look at a sample. The topic is gun control. And so here are my notes. I have the URL copied and pasted right here. This is where this information came from. And then I copy and pasted this information from the article that you can find here into my notes right here. Now, because I can't plagiarize, I need to paraphrase. I need to put it in my own words on this side. The original note reads, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 45,200 people were killed in the United States by firearms in 2020. This included over 19,000 murders, 535 unintentional gun deaths, and more than 600 gun deaths involving law enforcement. Some experts believe that the number of gun deaths by police is far higher than the CDC's reporting. Okay, so how am I going to paraphrase this? Well, first of all, I'm going to look for those good specific facts, numbers, details that I don't want to change. And I want to make sure I still have those in my paraphrased version on the right. All right? Because my, this note is a good noteworthy piece of evidence in that it supports, elaborates, explains, and proves, and all that good stuff we talked about in the last video. We want to make sure we continue with that in the paraphrased version. And then this paraphrased version is going to eventually get moved into the actual podcast. All right, so here's how one might paraphrase the information on the left. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported that over 45,200 people in the U.S. were killed by firearms in 2020. That number indicates 19,000 murders, 535 accidental deaths, and over 600 deaths involving law enforcement. Some say the number of police-involved deaths is higher. So you can see that it means the same thing as the information on the left. How did I make sure that it means the same thing? Well, I kept the facts, the numbers. They're all still there. I didn't leave them off. And so you're going to want to do the same thing with your paraphrasing. Also, I kept the names and the key phrases the same. So the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, I kept that the same. And you're going to want to do that as well. Don't change names. If they have capital letters, if they're names of organizations, don't change them. Okay? This is also a key phrase, deaths involving law enforcement. Now, the rule of thumb for plagiarism is that once you've copied more than 3 words in a row exactly the same, it's plagiarized. But like all rules of thumb, they aren't always correct, or that's not always correct. So deaths involving law enforcement, I have the same here, deaths involving law enforcement, because I don't know that there's a better way to say that. That is a key phrase, and it's something that's going to come up probably time and time again if you do research on gun control. Okay? Now, I'm giving you a what not to do. Okay? This is what we see a lot from students when they paraphrase. They make it shorter, and they take out the good info. So you can see in this paraphrased version, in 2020, many people were killed by guns. This included murders and accidents and also a lot of deaths involving police. Some think the numbers are even higher, but we don't really know, but there's a lot of gun violence. There isn't that good noteworthy evidence in here. All of the numbers are taken out. All of the references to these official documents that would support these ideas is taken out, and so it's no longer noteworthy evidence. So we want to avoid that kind of generalization or quick summary and instead get all those good details in your paraphrase note. All right, so I told you in the last video that your notes were going to be graded on both criterion A and C. This part is really, the paraphrasing is really the criterion C. So here's what we're going to be looking for. The paraphrase notes always capture the meaning and intent of the original text effectively. In other words, it means the same thing exactly as the original note. The paraphrased notes are in the student's own words, and they're in academic English, not slang. So you didn't just copy and paste, but you also didn't use slang. Kind of a fine line in between the two. All right, so here are a couple more good examples from students' notes. You want to do the same thing in yours. Happy note hunting. Let us know how we can help you.